The second topic that we have is the LVT and Tashi interview.
I want to clarify. I think the debacle's not on the HCS side. It's on the community side.
Oh, absolutely.
That's where I feel it's coming from.
I am sorry if I made it sound like it was on HCS sides of things, because no, you're right.
No. Just in the title, I just want to, it seems like there's a debacle within the community about all this going on.
Yes, because people don't think. You know, the internet, as sad as that is. So, that's the thing, is I'm not here to sugarcoat shit. You know that. The listeners hopefully know that. And if you don't know that, now you do. Okay, the LVT and Tashi interview. Couple points I want to make before we get into the actual questions and answers. First off, big shout out to Toolez for conducting the interview. I thought you did a great job, Garrett. I think you asked pressing questions. And Will, you had mentioned, I apologize for speaking for you, but you had said that he had asked some great follow-up questions as well. I don't want to use the word pressure, but made it so Tashi really couldn't just walk away from something, and he didn't, and he wouldn't. That's another point I want to make here. And I'll get to the chat in a second. But Tashi is not one to shy away from answering something when directly asked about it. That is something we learned when we interviewed him. That is something that we have seen online. Now, granted, he may not respond to everything, but when he does respond, he's not trying to shy away from things. That's not what he does. It's not in his nature. Okay? At least from our perspective and us talking directly to him. I want to talk about the chat real quick during the interview stream. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I said I was going to open with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And like I said, I'm not here to sugarcoat shit. To the LVT crew, love what you guys do. And love that you guys provide the open series coverage, the Money Tuesdays, the show matches, all this shit. Love that this interview took place. But for the love of God, moderate your fucking chat. Please. I do not care at all. Oh, they're just trolling. They're just trolling. Oh, it's just what the community is. That's just how they act. You need to moderate your fucking chat. If I'm a new person coming into the scene for the first time, may not happen very often, but if I'm a new person that's coming into the scene for the first time and I'm watching that, or I'm watching the VOD, whatever it may be, and I'm seeing the chat come in, and it's all just toxic as fuck. You think I want to stay? You think I want to be involved in the community? Or maybe there's an instance where, hey, everybody else is shitting on him. I'm going to shit on him too. What good does that do for anybody? There's a difference between suppressing people's voices, which is not the intent, versus having a reasonable, responsible, respectable discussion. Your chat was not that in the slightest. Will, you said you literally had to navigate away from the chat because it got so bad.
Yeah, it was just fueling my hate fire for the Halo community and what transpired there. So
the other thing I want to add is Toolez, while you did a great interview, don't get me wrong, the comment that you made about you thinking that the people in chat were going to start typing Elshi, that wasn't professional in the slightest and should have been left out completely. When I see people in the chat complaining, bitching, and moaning, Tashi's not looking at the camera. Oh, this was pre-recorded. Oh, you're giving him softball shit, which you weren't. Oh, he doesn't really care. Oh, he's not answering any questions. This is fucking worthless. Blah, 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 blah. The thing that Tashi's taking his time out of his day. And Tool says LMAO wasn't supposed to be professional. Dude, what? What are you talking about? Maybe to you it wasn't. Don't do that. Don't do that. He's taking 2 hours or more even of his time out of his day after you guys reached out to him to have this discussion about things that were pressing within this community. That should be professional. You were talking to somebody who works for a professional company. You guys are a professional production company. This should be fucking professional. Yeah, I'm upset about this. The thing that I hate to see consistently is the consistent hate that's being sent all across the board and nothing being done about it. You did a great interview. Nothing about that. I think the Elshi comment was not needed in the slightest because that just eggs on the chat further, and that did egg them on further because then they did start typing that out.
It was typed before he had mentioned it too, but not as extensive in that moment.
Regardless, it doesn't change the fact that you didn't have to add that. I love how you were respectful towards him in a sense where when he asked, hey, chat, how are we doing? How are we feeling? Hold me to it, whatever it may be. And you go, I'm going to be honest with you, Tashi, things aren't looking good. Like, you know, but the pro players were fairly respectable until the KCP shit started. And then I saw the KCP players trolling or whatever. It doesn't matter. Moderate the chat. If you're going to do this and you're going to do this consistently, moderate the chat. I don't care if this wasn't supposed to be professional. You were talking to somebody who works for 343 Industries in a capacity, whatever it may be. And it just happens to be the lead of the department for the scene that we are in. You work, or you are with a professional production company in LVT. I don't care if you said this wasn't supposed to be professional. You are taking time out of a professional individual within the industry to talk about shit that has been irking the community for quite some time. This is professional. Hold your chat accountable, please. I get it's Twitch chat. I understand it. But if you're not doing anything to make things better, then you're part of the problem. Ready for the interview?
Sure.
I'm fucking heated. It really pissed me off.
Well, that's the thing, is seeing all the comments, the thing that really the thing that got to me about the chat was I saw so many people dogging on Tashi and being like, shouting about KCP should have been let in and I could get this guy out of here. He needs to be fired. I bet anybody who tried to step into Tashi's shoes would then just run HCS into the fucking ground. You have no idea what the guy's doing. The fact that he can't, you're bitching about him not being able to change things that the development team is working on. Yes, he can put his input in, but he doesn't have the authority to just make that change. I think people don't understand what's really going on. It's frustrating.
Exactly. Toolez says, I disagree with plenty, but our chat was heavily moderated. Not once during the entire interview did I see one time in chat posted by a moderator for people to chill. Not once. That's one step. That's a singular step that could have been made. I didn't see that once. I respect your opinion, Garrett. I really do. I truly, truly do. I respect you as an individual as well. I respect everybody at LVT. But what I witnessed while the interview was taking place completely contradicts what you just said with your chat being heavily moderated. I saw moderators in the chat. I didn't see them doing any moderating. But to the interview. Question. So I broke this out. So Toolez did a great job in breaking this out into segments for the interview. I believe there were 3 major segments that took place. Toolez says plenty of people were banned. Obviously, I wasn't the one doing. Absolutely, you were conducting the interview. Absolutely understandable. I just saw it. So much fucking hate for no reason. So, I grouped the questions into additional segments, if you will, because there was some jumping back and forth during the interview. So, the first grouping that I have is the HCS Roadmap Year 1 into Year 2 and beyond. The question was, why the long break between Kansas City and Orlando for LAN events? And again, everything that I talk about with Tashi here is paraphrased. You should please go check out the entire interview. The full VOD has been posted over at the LVT YouTube channel and is included in the Google Doc of the show notes of the show. Exclamation point show notes in chat if you're watching live, or it's in the description of the YouTube video and or audio version of the show. The roadmap started with the kickoff and world championship dates, along with predetermined partnered events, DreamHack, as those dates were already locked in. Due to the development and release schedule of the game, this made it so the Year 1 roadmap became what it was, with a larger break between KC and Orlando. For Year 2 and beyond, the roadmap will be condensed, from 11 months to around 8 to 9 months, and also planning will start with the majors and worlds locked in before planning other events. The reason for the elongated inaugural season was due to wanting to have an event right around the launch of the game, along with having worlds near the anniversary of the franchise every year. Partner team events are also being worked on for Year 2. Okay, so that makes sense. Next question. What is preventing additional LANs and invitational events from happening within the roadmap when not initially planned? Is this something that is being looked into for Year 2? Tashi said, Supers are online regionals, and while one of the NA regionals was DreamHack Anaheim, another NA regional was planned, working alongside DreamHack again, but unfortunately the dates did not work out. The plan for the future is to have Supers flip into regionals, along with having 2 regionals per region. Again, this is the plan and is not yet set in stone. Additional events had been previously planned to take place during the extended break time within the Year 1 roadmap, but unfortunately plans fell through, which happens in the industry. The second North American regional was actually going to be DreamHack Montreal, which was in Canada. So we would have had a Canadian event, which would have been cool.
Would have been sick.
Yep. And the HCS Kansas City Major was originally planned to be the HCS Mexico Major, but was canceled due to COVID. The next question that Garrett asks, what does it mean when timing falls through when it comes to events? Tashi says, the HCS does not want events to be too close to the majors in terms of dates. Therefore, if an event comes along that would be great to include within the roadmap, but the dates of the event line up too close to a major, then the event would more than likely not happen. Having events too close to majors would, quote, damage the entire roadmap, end quote. For open events specifically, majors, generally the time frame looked for in between events is 2 to 3 months, which allows players time to save money for the next event to travel to and compete if they'd like. The reason for the lack of additional events is due to the inherent risk of being very high and the costs associated with running events being very high as well. The next question. For Year 2 and beyond, along with the condensing of the roadmap, how will the break period be timed between Year 2 and Year 3 and beyond? So Tashi goes, there needs to be an off season between the roadmaps. The HCS team needs to be able to take the time and plan things out bigger and better for the future. Pro players will know and understand that they can take a vacation during the extended break, but there also needs to be more activity during the break. But instead of majors, just something for players to compete in. And that's all he kind of elaborated on there.
As far as the break period and having like events in that break period of the off season, it would be cool to see some like fun invitationals, like where we had the 6 teams that were invited. I think it was Halo 5. Was that towards the end of Halo 5?
Potentially.
They did like didn't they do like or was that I'm losing my dates. But yeah, just something like an invitational for teams, or have events where like no roster lock, or you can compete with whoever depending on how those contracts work out. But like just bring random teams or whatever, or maybe like a draft turn, whatever, just something. The pros still have to be competing and shining a light onto HCS, in my opinion. Absolutely.
And that actually goes into the next question that Garrett asks. Regarding the FaZe Invitational, how did this event come to be, and will more events like this be happening? Tashi says, FaZe came to the HCS with the idea. The HCS team agreed, found a good spot in the roadmap for it, and provided additional funding and resources. For the remainder of the roadmap, at least one additional event like this is being planned. Okay? Tool says he loves draft tournaments. Fuck yeah. So Tashi said for the remainder of this current roadmap, year 1, at least one additional event like this is being planned. Okay? More are being planned for year 2 and beyond, and while they may not be the same scale as the Phase Invitational, partnered organizations are excited for the potential of Forge. HCS and Forge are going to have an expanded relationship once released, more than just maps being remade and weapons being changed. Okay, so I don't know what that's going to entail, but that's pretty exciting. Tools asked the next question, is there a plan to revamp side events in year 2? Specifically like side events that are taking place at majors and whatnot. Nothing planned as of right now except the standing up of FFA more. HCS wants to continue working with the development teams on getting Observer in a better state, and there's a potential for partnered organization booths and events to have additional side events happening. Okay, so that could be cool. And then the final question that I grouped into this group here, what is the plan for the LATAM region among other regions? So the plan, Tashi says, the plan is to never shrink the scene, but instead the expansion of the scene needs to be long-term sustainable and make sense. An international major is being looked into for year 2 of the HCS, but there are no additional details to share at this time. The ambition and goal is to have international majors each year. That's awesome. Definitely gives, not just like gives eyes further on the scene, but it gives players an opportunity to travel more and just become more cultured around the world too, which is just fucking cool. The next group of questions that I put together is the HCS as a department, if you will. So, first question that Garrett asks in regards to this is, what happened with the HCS Grassroots program? Grassroots, while still a priority for the team, had to take an initial back seat to the relaunching of the HCS. Ambitions are higher for Grassroots, and applications are still planned to reopen later this year. Instead of having applications open year-round, the plan is to have applications open in waves, as is the current process. Okay. Next question, where is the microtransaction money going within the HCS? So, HCS is given a budget and have KPIs, key performance indicators, to hit, including viewership, participation and engagement, monetization for teams and partners, and social engagement and relevancy, along with revenue targets. If the revenue targets are hit, the HCS team can go to the leadership team at 343 and detail how they would like to improve and expand for the future. So it's not just like based off of microtransaction money. Follow-up question in regards to that. Are HCS hitting their targets? Tashi gave a personal grade of a B. And then from the eyes of 343, HCS has actually been very successful, which is great to hear. Next question.
The thing I liked about that is like whatever goals they set for HCS, they're apparently crushing them. Set by 343. However, Tashi still took a step back and it was like, this is a B. Everyone in chat was like, oh, C at most. And I can kind of understand that a little bit. But I'm glad Tashi gave himself a little leeway and being like, I hit my goals, but I still want more. So like B, you know, that at least felt a little good for me.
Absolutely. The next question was, where's the connection between the HCS and 343 teams when it comes to ranked playlists? Tashi said, HCS team has no control over playlists, although they have influence and provide feedback from players. The multiplayer team drives playlist offerings, and the competitive insights team is constantly testing competitive settings. Things are in motion to add more ranked offerings into the game. And as we learned previously, outside of this interview, it sounds like FFA and doubles are in the plans. Next question. The final question that I have for this grouping is the plans for Halo.api and the API in general. Now, as we have learned again earlier today, as a matter of fact, Halo.api is going to be releasing information related to this on Wednesday this week. But here's what Tashi said last night. 343 has bigger plans and ambitions for an API than what the community is thinking about at this time. 343 are currently not in a position to help fund AutoCode/Halo.api's efforts. 343 also has privacy compliance laws to be mindful of. I agree, Tools, completely. I agree completely. It is great that they are hitting their KPIs. Great question, by the way. as with fucking everything. Next grouping that I put together was the player participation and feedback group, if you will. First question I have here is, what's going to be done in the future to entice pro players to compete week to week? Tashi says the plan for the Pro Series events was to have all major teams competing, but due to the unprecedented roster mania after KC, this led to many top teams not competing. The main point of the Open Series events is to give AM and open bracket players something that they can sink their teeth into week after week. And as for the future, this is being looked into along with format changes and types of tournaments being run to entice pro players to compete, but there's nothing else to share at this time. Next question, how are people chosen for Twitch drops? So he didn't necessarily elaborate too much on this, but what I got out of it was it starts with pro players who stream often and have good standing within the league, and then like grassroots members, and then they just kind of go from there. So because they have like bigger people within esports in general, like especially with Raleigh, you know, they had people who don't even play Halo competitively have drops enabled because they're bigger personalities within esports in general. So there's that. Next question. Whatever happened with the pro player surveys sent by Faceit? What is being done with the feedback? What can be done in the future to ensure pro players are being heard and their feedback is being taken into consideration? Tashi says, while happy with the surveys and the feedback given, Tashi is not happy with the lack of closing of the feedback loop. The reason for this is due to the development team having bigger priorities to tackle with Infinite as a whole. The feedback has been collected and the appropriate teams are aware of what the players would like. So feedback is being heard. Okay.
I know Tashi can't provide this feedback, but just personally, I'm so curious at what is taking this development team away from fixing. Like, they know desync's an issue. They know, like you said, they know that they want changes to the weapons that start in comp or ranked settings or things like that. What is actually moving this development team away? Is it they're laying more foundation to then be able to build upon later so we actually can make these changes super quick? Like, if it's something that's helping us in the moment, I really want to know. And maybe they're working on other aspects of the game. There's been speculation that, you know, campaign expansions, whatever. I get it, but there's some things that are in the game right now that need work.
You know, they got to move fast. I mean, they got to move slow
before they move fast. Yeah. That's been the
meme.
Sure.
It's been the meme. No, you're right. And we know that they're working on, we know that 343 as a whole have bigger priorities than changing the mangler on a map. Now, the question could be like, well, how difficult could it be to just change the fucking weapon on a map? And that's a whole different discussion entirely. But the fact of the matter is they have other things to work on.
Yeah.
The rumor was campaign co-op. Yeah. And it's not even a rumor at this point. Like, it's true. Like, they're working on campaign co-op. They're working on network co-op. They're working on regular campaign co-op. They have other things that are taking priority. And we talked about it the other week where I would rather them fix things that currently exist.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wish that everything that was promised was out at release, but clearly we're not in that reality. So we have to deal with what we're given.
Right. Speaking of the mangler.
Yeah. Well, we're not on there yet. Oh. So is there a reason, the next question, is there a reason that the pro players do not have a way to communicate directly with the teams responsible for making direct changes to the game from a competitive perspective? The answer was having pro players be able to jump on a call with designers would not be fruitful. This has happened in the past and it did not work out. This led to the move to surveys, which Tashi believes works out much better. The process is good. The feedback loop just needs to be closed with actual resolution, which they are working on.
Yeah. I liked the story he told about Lucid coming up to him in KC. Being like, what's going on with this? Like, we haven't heard anything, which is awesome. He's looking for that feedback. And I also did hear stories of that phone call with devs that we talked about a little bit before the show where the loud voices rung a little bit louder than the majority of people, I guess, would have. Like, some people just didn't get their feedback in during that call because other people were talking over or doing whatever. So
Right.
The surveys just need to be closed.
Yes.
The loop needs to be closed.
Yes. We know that these types of calls happen during Halo 5, at the very least. And yeah, things just did not go well. And Halo 5 was also a different beast entirely.
Yeah.
In terms of development, in terms of what they could and could not do quickly. So there's that to keep in mind as well. But clearly that way did not work. But yeah, let's move to the Mangler. Why hasn't the Mangler been removed from competitive play? And this was mainly from Spartan. And Spartan also brought up again, like, why not just replace it with the sidekick on live fire? And then making the joke like we have cool skins to use, but we can't use them on competitive maps, basically, for the sidekick.
Sure.
Yep. Tashi said, there's more work. This is what gets me. Okay. And we talked about before we started recording. There is more work to be done on the Mangler, and the development team is aware. And Tashi opened with that statement. Okay. And Tashi also talked about how, I forgot to include this here, but he also talked about how he said that players are still GAing the Mangler because it's still not balanced. And Will and I talked before we started recording, and I think they're still GAing it because they just don't like the gun. I don't know if it has to do with balancing per se. But when Tashi said that there's more work to be done on the Mangler, to me, it doesn't sound like it's going anywhere.
Yeah, I can see that. Because he's not instantly like, yes, we're looking to switch it out. He said he thought it was a good idea. But the first comment makes you wonder. It really does.
Yep. And he also said he is not the person to ask about changing or removal of weapons, as that's not his department, really. So he can't choose that. Yeah. Like you said, he thinks it's a good idea, and the feedback had already, like, he's going to pass the feedback along, but they already know.
Yeah.
So there's that. Oh, Beth, in terms of the phone call situation or the call situation, says, and you're also always going to have people who just aren't confrontational enough to talk over others. So they'll just go with whatever everyone else wants. Whereas surveys allow you to speak a little more freely.
Yeah.
And we talked about it too, Will, where surveys also allow for a clear and concise avenue to provide your feedback. Yep. The questions are predetermined. They're on there. You have an opportunity to answer however you see fit. And then that feedback goes directly to one location. There's no middleman or nothing like that. It goes directly to where it needs to go. Obviously, I guess there could be a middleman scenario where the HCS team looks over it, provides it to where it needs to go. But regardless, it has an avenue of travel, with little to no roadblock in my mind. So there is that. Yeah, as of right now, the Mangler is not being removed. So you can keep on GAing the mangly dangly. Next question. What can the HCS do to better advocate for players of partnered teams? Tashi said, the HCS can't and won't get too involved in the inner workings of the player-organization relationship. It's encouraged for players to voice feedback and concerns to Tashi for future discussions and decisions. So there's that. Holy shit. Vimul, I apologize for mispronouncing your name, says, I listen to the podcast every week, working on listening to the backlog. Love you guys for doing this. Keep it up. Hey, thank you so fucking much. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you enjoyed that backlog. That is something.
That's, oof. Oofda.
Yeah, big old Minnesota oofda.
Minnesota oofda back.
Yeah. Good luck to you. That's going to be a monster in and of itself. But there's some gems in there. The Taco Bell episode.
Yeah, speaking of which, I think we need to do another,
for fun episode.
For fun, redo the Taco Bell episode now.
Ooh. It says episode 34. Oh, you're in for a ride. Oh.
Well, 36 is something, and then 50 is Taco Bell.
36 is the one, right? The one that you love to not think about.
But I just don't want to believe exists anymore.
Yeah. I'm proud of 36. I'm proud of 36.
Oh, you even taped this to the desk.
I did, because I didn't want it to blow off or something if you move something. I just kept it on there. There are instructions on the desk for Will for a later segment. So there's that. I'm sorry to derail the conversation. I just really appreciate that, Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. Back when Will's Adventures was about me actually going through the Halo games.
Yeah, I mean, that, like,
Now it's just us talking about what games we play.
yeah. Yeah. See, you know what? Just for a brief second, I'm sorry to interject here, but for a brief second, I really want to provide context as to why Will's Adventures kind of evolved into a segment where we talk about games that we've played over the week. Because we are people who don't just play a singular game, right? We play other games, whatever they may be. We have our favorites, and I want that to be an opportunity to share what those games are, because not only gives you a little insight as to what we're interested in, but also may give you an idea of like, hey, maybe I'll go try that out sometime. You know?
Sure.
Like you played Artful Escape.
Yeah.
Right?
Was amazing.
Right. It's just, it's that type of thing where we take however long it is, 5-10 minutes of the show where we talk about games that we played. Fuck you, Snag. You know what? Just because that, hey, Will.
What?
Good old Dick Twist.
Oh, you did it.
I did it. Now he can leave.
Now he's definitely out.
Yeah,
now.
I'm just kidding. Love you. Yeah, that's the context for that segment of the show. Yes, it's Will's adventures within the Haloverse and the voice and the hand waves, but I really wanted it to evolve into a topic where, since we don't do an entire gaming podcast, I want that to be an avenue where we can take 5-10 minutes and just talk about the things that we played over the week. And if someone's interested in that, then hey, maybe they go and look out for that game too. So that's it. Oh no, Vem's in it too.
Yes, thank you.
Let's go, baby. All right.
Okay, back to the
interview. I'm
a little
sorry.
off the rails again. We're
Yep.
back on. Okay.
That's the nature of the show, man.
Yes.
Nature of the show.
Whew.
So, next question. And this is a big one. This is a very heavy question as well, if you think about it. Would the HCS support a players union? So Tashi kind of had to dodge around this because there's a lot involved in this. And he obviously cannot speak, he cannot speak for the entirety of 343. So Tashi says, it's hard to say as there are a lot of legal implications that Tashi's just not able to answer. With that in mind, he says the HCS supports players. Regarding assistance with players and contracts, the HCS is not ignorant to or turning a blind eye to it, but they're just not in a position to be hands-on with it. Okay? So there's that. The next question. And again, shout out Garrett for even asking that. That was awesome. Next question. Are there plans for the HCS to include direct support to players? And Garrett was asking about, like, he would love to have player signatures on weapons and so on and so forth. Just have direct, like, revenue streams to players themselves if they were to be added into a partnership program or whatever it may be. And Tashi says, as of right now, there are no plans in place. Plain and simple. That is a no. As of right now. And then finally, in this segment I have, how are fines determined and can only players of partnered teams be fined? Well, no. All players are able to be fined, although partner teams are held to higher standards. Fines are taken out of prize pools, travel stipends, etc. And Tashi believes the HCS has been super lenient regarding the fines, and they could be much worse if the governing body cracked down further. Fines are only happening for very severe issues, and the amounts are determined based on the code of conduct. Okay. The next group, and the final group that I have here before we get into the last part of it, is the HCS Partnership Program. First question was, what are the expectations for partnered organizations at events? Well, the HCS wants for more partnered orgs to have booths at events, and the HCS does not charge fees for partnered orgs for having booths, nor do they charge for the floor space. And HCS does not take a percentage of the sales from the booths. In the event a partnered org does not have a booth, that org can sell their items within the HCS store at the event at no charge to them. HCS are trying to give every opportunity to the partnered orgs so that they would feel stupid to not take the offer. Plan for the future is to have the partnered orgs more involved within the ecosystem.
I want to say one more thing about that question is he also said that, yes, while they want more partnered orgs to have the booths at event, they understand that G2 is a German organization.
Yep.
That it's harder for them to come across seas, set up a booth, and sell merch when that cost is a lot heavier than a team that's set up in Dallas.
And Garrett, I'm with you 1000%. I want G2 merch as well.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Really fucking do. The only thing that I would say is maybe as something that G2 could do. This is not like directly related to the HCS, I guess, but like something that G2 could do is, hey, the cost of shipping is astronomically high from the EU to the United States. So why not potentially maybe have a discount code while the event is running? Because it remains online. It remains on your e-commerce store. Why not just have, if you're not able to have a booth, which everybody wants a booth, but if you're not able to have one, at least maybe have a discount code that only works during the duration of the event.
Or like Tool says, it feels like there should be some sort of expectation for orgs to be at events.
Yes.
Which I can agree with. Why hasn't G2 taken up the opportunity to have their merch in the HCS store then?
Yep.
You know, that's a free avenue.
Just bring it with your players as they come to the event.
Yeah, you're sending the players on the plane, ship the gear too.
Now, we know that the team is a US-based team. I guess the question is, do you have any... But here's the question. Do you have anybody from across the pond that is coming to the event as well? Because if that's the case, just make them fucking come over. Most orgs then have not been doing booths. I agree with you 100%. That's the thing that irked me with Optic was...
That would have been so easy for them.
It's what really pissed me off. At Raleigh, you had a few items in the HCS store, which now we've learned you can do that, which is great. Cloud9 did it as well before they had a booth at Kansas City. Mm-hmm. And United did it at Kansas City because they didn't have a booth. But literally Optic, one of the biggest orgs, period, both events did not have a booth. I'm like, are you guys fucking just... I get it. You don't have all the merch in the world. Like, you have kind of a limited run of things as they come out. I respect that. But like, what? Oh my God. Toolez Optic 1000% had the worst merch ever at Raleigh. The worst by a fucking country mile. The worst. And like, and I know you shouted them out during the interview. We shouted them out all the time. Shout out to Space Station for literally having the best merch in the game, having an exclusive hoodie at the event, which was sold online after the fact.
They never said it was exclusive.
They didn't. But like, the fact is they had it for that event first, and then they had it online in a limited capacity. But like, great fucking hoodie, great merch in general. Shout out to United for having their event exclusive hoodie.
I love that hoodie, man.
Yeah, in the HCS store. Like, that's awesome. And like, it's just, come on, guys. The fuck are you doing? It's so frustrating. Like, your fans are there to support your team. Optic was the favorite going into the event. Like, along with Cloud9, obviously, but like, Optic was one of the heavily favored teams going into that event, and you didn't have anything to support them. Nothing.
I think they said that they regretted not having a booth there.
They regretted not having a booth at Raleigh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your regret clearly wasn't big enough. And then also, the thing that gets me is like, I ranted about this on our KC post show, about how KCP did not have a booth. Now, maybe only partner teams can have booths.
Yeah.
That's besides the point. The fact that KCP didn't have a fucking booth set up outside the venue was what really got me. Because I see everybody rocking this KCP merch, and I'm like, I literally looked at a guy sitting in front of me who was decked out in KCP shit, poked him on the shoulder, and I'm like, hey, I have to ask, where did you get that? Because I can't, like, are you guys set up anywhere around here? Can I go find you and buy some shit? And he's like, oh no, we had it. Like, you can buy it online. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. So I'm not going to have it for the event. I have to order it online. Granted, they have a store online. That's awesome. Don't get me wrong. But like, you don't have anything set up there. Cool. Regardless, partner team or not, I don't give a shit. The fact that you literally didn't have a booth set up literally outside the venue, that you could have had something. but whatever. And then the other thing that got me about Optic not having a booth at KC, jumping on this even further, is the pro players coming out, especially APG. And this isn't shitting on the pro players. This is literally just what I saw. APG coming out in the brand new Optic hoodie.
Oh yeah, that was sick.
That you would only be able to wear if you got it like right away after buying it. And I didn't get mine until after we came back from KC.
I still don't have mine.
Really? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're coming. Don't worry.
The new ones.
Yeah, the different colors.
The relaunch.
But like that's what really got me, is that you have the players representing your brand new limited hoodies that came out. They're fire hoodies, don't get me wrong. Super comfortable. But you have them rocking that, and I saw like one person in the crowd wearing it because they got theirs early. Well, not early, but they got theirs sooner than other people. Like, have something there. The fans are there to see you guys. They're there to represent you guys. You had the FaZe booth having like the foam heads or the cardboard heads of the players, right? You had, or was that Sentinels?
Sentinels had that. Wasn't there a FaZe one too with Boo Boo and Snipe?
That's what I thought. It's just, you have these things, these teams, these partner teams or teams in general just have stuff available to represent the team. Cloud9 had their like bang sticks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, an Optic had literally nothing.
Hey, opportunity to improve.
It's just unbelievable.
Two events we got.
Oh, I know, but just the fact that they said we regret not having one at Raleigh, or at least that's what we were told. Directly, we were told that. We were told directly from, was it somebody on the HCS team? I thought it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were.
Yeah. That they regretted not having one, and then come KC and they still don't. So, whatever. It is what it is. Just still upset about it. Hoodie's cool though. Next question. What factors are being looked into for teams entering the partnership program? So while the answer was vague, teams are looked into based on how they are set up, including their components, track records within esports, etc. Teams that have been selected for year 2 of the partnership program are still going through contracts, so no announcement is ready as of now. And that still holds true. As of recording this, the answer is still up in the air. And we already talked about the KCP situation earlier. Next question. What will be improved from a communication standpoint for organizations that get rejected from the partnership program? Or get denied. I should say denied, not rejected, just denied. HCS was hearing from behind closed doors. This is what really pisses me off too. HCS was hearing from behind closed doors that teams need to know whether they are in the program because they're holding on to players and stopping negotiations with rosters. Therefore, the pressure was felt to release the results sooner rather than later, this being via email. And this will be learned upon for the future. So I'm conflicted on 2 fronts. Okay?
Yeah.
So the first part, we already talked about it, where Garrett asked, like, does the HCS, and this is paraphrasing, is the HCS involved in some way, or are the HCS going to be involved in some way with how the partnerships or how the partnered organizations carry themselves, I guess you could say, within the league?
Yeah.
And Tashi was like, we try to remain hands off as possible. Vem, thank you so much for the sub. I'll give you a woo in just a minute.
Yeah. Our alerts are also broken, but oh well.
Well, I appreciate it, Vem. Also, if I mispronounce your name, please let me know how to actually say it. So I'm conflicted on 2 fronts here, because we talked about it all the time. Contracts are contracts. Yeah. It is what it is. You're the one that signed it. You're the one that has to deal with it. And if you weren't, and Tashi even said it in the interview, we're not going to tell you, if you ask us, we're not going to tell you what to do or what not to do. What Tashi's going to ask you is, have you talked to a lawyer?
Oh, for signing contracts.
Yep,
Yeah.
because that's what you should be doing at the bare fucking minimum, is get a lawyer and have them go over it with you. And if you don't do that, or you do that and the lawyer's shitty, at the end of the day, it's your decision that you've made. You have to live with that decision. You should be, I mean, if you're signing a contract, I believe the age is 18 to be able to compete anyway.
No.
Is it 16? I thought it was 18.
Isn't it 6? Like, because that's why Hook was in Halo.
Right, but I thought they updated it after.
Oh,
the
did
fact.
they? Did they? Okay.
I thought they did. I could be completely off base here. But regardless, you signed the contract. It's 14 with adult supervision. Well, hopefully, or 16 now. Either way, I don't fucking care. Regardless, that absolutely should be said. They signed the contract. They need to follow what's in that contract. You need to live with what it is. You signed it. You live with the consequences or the greatness that comes with it. Whatever it may be. You deal with it either way. So, when Ross, the thing that irks me is that organizations were holding players back because they didn't have an announcement yet. That's shitty on the organization. Do not get me wrong. I think that's fucking petty and stupid. But business is business. And as we know, the organizations are in it for the business. Okay? At the end of the day, money talks. With that in mind, I do think that what they were doing is absolutely shitty.
Some research.
Go ahead.
All 4v4. This is from the Kansas City Major Halo Waypoint blog detailing what was happening at Kansas City.
Okay.
All 4v4 and FFA players must be 13 years of age or older to compete at HCS Major Kansas City 2022. Players 13 years age or older require a signed parental consent form if under the age of 18.
Okay, so 18 when you're legally considered an adult, you make your own decisions.
But this is also not for the partnered teams. Are the partnered teams held to higher standards to have someone who is legally available to sign contracts?
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not going to speculate on that. It's a good question. I'm just not going to speculate on it. But the other thing that gets me here, and I'm going to throw some pushback at Tashi for this, is he says that they felt pressure to release the results sooner rather than later. Why should you feel pressured to do that? That's not, if you are hands off with how the organizations handle themselves, and you even said yourself, you don't want to be foot in, foot out. You typically remain feet out. Stick to your guns. I get it. They're complete. It's so tough because obviously you want rosters to be able to make the moves that the organizations to make the moves that they want to make. You want the teams to be full. You want them competing because that betters the ecosystem. But if they're strong arming you, it feels yucky.
For the HCS though, if you have a team that's like BBG was the only one that released their roster, so they're the only example I can really go off of. You have members of that team that want to compete, want to go elsewhere, and you're waiting on a partnership announcement. Like, I could feel I could see how Tashi would feel like, well, they're not making it, and that's the only reason they're staying. Let's get these.
Sure, why not just tell them?
Yeah.
So they can just fuck off.
A little bit.
That's my words.
Yeah.
Tool says partner teams can have underage players.
So again, that has to go probably
with parental consent.
Yeah, with all that.
Yeah. All right. What can the HCS do for more middle tier organizations? So Tashi and the HCS states to every team, quote, even if you aren't partnered doesn't mean we can't work together, end quote. The HCS is interested in anything and everything that helps better the ecosystem. Expanded travel coverage is not being looked into at this time. Tools brought up a great point. Like, expanded travel is a great incentive, but unfortunately it's not being looked into further.
I don't think it's feasible.
Sure. Next question. Only a few left here. What long-term commitments do the partner teams have to keep them in the ecosystem? Tashi says, within year 2, people will see a material expansion within the partnership program and better integration within the ecosystem as a whole. Teams need ways to monetize their fan bases, and the HCS needs to find ways to add revenue streams for the teams. More content, involvement at tournaments, etc. will all be coming from partner teams in year 2. In-game skins are being expanded upon within year 2, and some of this expansion will be seen later this year, later this year in the merch department. Have a great night, Winkler. Good to see you.
Yes.
And enjoy the rest of the show on your commute. So that's something big to take away here. In-game skins are being expanded upon within year 2. And then some of the expansion will be seen later this year in the merch department. I like that.
That's interesting.
I like that. You know me. I love my merch.
Yeah, you do. You buy everything. Pretty much.
Okay. Yes, that sounds way worse. Now you say it out loud.
Not Connor levels of everything.
No,
but
I don't buy like 10 of everything. Let's be realistic here. I buy 1 of everything and I keep it for myself. Does that make me shrewd for myself? Sure. But Connor going out of his way to buy 10 to 15 of every fucking item at Space Station and throw things out into the crowd. Good for him.
Mean, it looks like a fun time.
Love what he's doing there. That's awesome. But, like, I'm not going to do that. Snag says he's already taking a small business loan out for Worlds. Snag, I'm pissed that you're not going to fucking be there. Can you just, if you said you had a bachelor party, right? Can you just bring them? Bachelor party at Worlds, dude. How fucking dope does that sound? Oh, man. Vem, thank you so much for the fucking sub. You get a woo! I got to give that to you before you head out. Thank you so much. Have a great night. You're killing as well. Love you, man. And then Suwasha, if I mispronounce your name, I apologize. Thank you for the follow, first of all. Also says, love the podcast here from YouTube. Have you guys touched on the SSG drama? The SSG drama. Do tell.
Is this new?
Is
this new drama?
Yeah, is this new? What is this? I'm excited. Do tell. Because we're about to be done with, we're going to be done with this topic soon. So please, you might not be able to post links because they may be blocked from that. But if you have like a concise example, put it in the chat. We'll talk about it if it's something we don't already know. So what long-term commitments? I already talked about that. We're moving on. Probably just referring to collect playing with KCP. Oh, whatever. If that's what it is, I don't care. Nothing's set in stone yet. Question. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Same thing about phase. I can't fucking talk about it if it's literally is nothing there. Oh yeah, Sawasha. The team is chalked. I mean, we've me really shitting on them. Like, I don't think that team's it at all. I think Collect is it. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think they need to get rid of Ace and Elamite. Like, that's literal. I've said it. I dipped around it for a while, but I'm like, it's our show. I don't fucking care anymore. I think they need to get rid of them. I thought it was hilarious when Elamite said that if we perform shitty all throughout the year, but Worlds we perform great, then that's all that matters. I'm like, bro, you ain't performing well at Worlds anyway, so it doesn't even matter to you.
I was rooting for SSG I knew it was a long shot, but the ALGS that happened.
Oh, sure.
Yesterday. Is that what it is? ALGS? Oh, that's rock. Anyway.
Apex Legends.
Apex Legends. Yeah.
No, for sure. I love their organization. I think their organization's great. It's just fucking hilarious. He says he's been teasing in Snakebite's chat that he wants to go rogue so bad, and you guys have no idea. I'm telling you, man, as soon as Rami was dropped and Collect went off on Twitter, I'm like, there's no saving it now. That team is done. There's no fucking way they come back. And I said it before as well. Collect playing so well as he has been on that team in that situation only does better for him.
Right. I mean, I look at it though, kind of like Spartan though. He let his frustrations all out on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And I do think while I may agree with some of the things that they're talking about.
Absolutely.
There's better ways to go about that.
They're not being professional. Oh, there's definitely two sides to this coin.
Right.
We can say without a doubt that what they're portraying online is not great. We can also say that, they're great players. I'm not going to say that Spartan's a bad player. He's not. He's phenomenal. I'm not going to say Collect's a bad player. He's not. He's phenomenal. But the way that they go about it online is not great. Plain and simple. He also went on a rant because he plays well in every turn and he found out Boo Boo Doo Boo was scrimming in place of him without him knowing. Oh, we know about that. That was a whole separate thing. See, I told you, as soon as Rami got let go from that team was done. Plain and simple. Moving on. Couple more things here.
Because we've done it enough tonight. We're
off the rails, baby.
Again.
All right. Are there ways to hold partnered teams accountable within the partnership program? Tashi said yes, and it's actually being looked into more for year 2 and beyond. So I respected the answer. But I was hoping that Tashi would go a little bit more in depth on this. Maybe just couldn't. How are they going to be held responsible for things? But whatever. They are being held responsible. It's just whatever that's going to be. And then the final question that I have listed here is, what is HCS's participation in partnered organization events? Now, this mainly talked about the Optic event that was supposedly going to take place. And here's what happened from that. Regarding the Optic event, it just didn't work out this time right now. Talks are already in place for this event to happen at some point in time, and it will happen. And for year 2, the HCS is reaching directly out to start the conversation and plan events with organizations. Great to hear. Great to hear. Because Toolez replied back and was like, okay, so instead of the organizations having to reach out directly to the HCS like FaZe did for their invitational, will the HCS reach out directly to organizations to get the ball rolling? And he said, we are doing that already. So good to hear.
Yeah.
Okay. That was it for the interview. There were a couple questions. There were a couple other questions that were asked that I did not include. Just because I believe we've already heard information about them before, like champ rank, it's coming at some point in time. There's a couple other things, whatever. But again, I just want to give a shout out to Garrett. Great interview conducted by you. Shout out to LVT for producing as well. Everything really. And shout out Tashi for taking the time out of his day to sit down and chat with Garrett and the overall community about things that are happening within the scene. Toolez, you're remarkable.